We are taking a look at NFL free agency, and up next we have Houston Texans star Stefon Diggs. Colt, break down Diggs as a player. What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? And what does he bring to the table for a team looking for a receiver?
Yeah, I mean, Stefon Diggs' strengths has always been his route running ability, his separation that he creates when he runs routes, quick little ins and outs, double moves. He's been elite at that his whole career. Can he still do that coming off an ACL, like as he's getting a little bit older? I would hope so. He's a great athlete, played a lot of football. I know there's still going to be a place for him in this league. I don't know that he's a number one anymore, but I think he'll still have a market. And he's always shown the ability to catch the ball with his hands. 50-50 balls, making great catches. He's a highlight reel for that his entire career. Question's going to be like, he's moved teams and he restructured his contract, then he tore his ACL. Like, what is it going to be? And so I do think there's going to be a couple places that could be an option. I think the Texans still make a whole lot of sense with just his veteran presence. There's a place there. Obviously, with Tank Dell's injury, I think that helps his case a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's like, can he come back off his ACL and still be the route runner that he's been most of his career? I know it won't be perfect, but can he get close to that? And if he can, like there's a lot of places that he could go be a number two receiver somewhere.
No, it's a great point. AQ, just like me, I tore my ACL. You've torn your ACL as well. And we're offensive linemen trying to come back off that. As a receiver, as a 31-year-old receiver coming off ACL, how tough is that going to be for Stefon Diggs?
I think the other thing, too, is whenever you look at when he tore his ACL, it was later in the season a little bit, right? It wasn't like an August ACL. If it's an August ACL, you probably got a much better chance. That's when I tore mine, and I was able to feel semi-decent by the time the next season rolled around. But again, people don't realize, like, yeah, you're okay and you're completely healed and you're able to play at about 9 months to a year, but it's still an 18-month injury till you feel fully comfortable and feel really good. And when you look at him, his entire career, it's how twitchy he is. It's how quick bursty he is, right? He's moving in a speed that no one else is able to move in. And I just don't know at the age that he's at, coming off the injury that he had, if he's still that same guy. So Houston probably would be the best bet for him to go back. But again, when you look at these guys who are starting to get up in age, they're also chasing rings too. So it's like, you're willing to deal with some stuff, and maybe he can swallow his pride a little bit, and maybe you go to a place that has a one and fit in somewhere else. Then you get a guy that's a damn good football player as a number two. And if you got Stefon Diggs as your number two, I like my chances. I feel pretty good about that.
I think the thing with his ACL, he's talking about his route run ability. It's his releases. Like I remember sitting in a lot of receiver rooms throughout my career. One of the first guys they'd pull up would be, Stefon Diggs, and his separation just from the line of scrimmage when you're playing man coverage, his ability to like slow play a DB off the line. Like he's been elite at that, and he practices at that. He's not a guy that's going to have to practice every single day to get ready for Sunday. Like he knows the soft spots and zones. He knows how to get open versus man. Like there's a lot of value in that.
Well, 31 coming off injury, Jay, would you still consider Stefon Diggs a number one receiver in the NFL?
No. Hell no. He's not big enough. And coming off an injury, and he's 31 years old, so he doesn't have the speed. The problem with Stefon is he's not a very good blocker either. So this day and age with all the RPOs and the bubble screens, he's not going to be a blocker. He's going to have to be the one catching it all the time. I don't know where the fit is for him, quite honestly. He's an inside player. My first thought was Denver, because the way Sean Payton used Pierre Thomas back in the day to work the inside lookies and the option routes. That's what he is right now. He's not a number one outside receiver. He's an inside slot receiver. They can do the options, the choice routes, all those things that a good slot receiver can do. But my really number one team was going to be Dallas. Go play with your brother on a one-year contract. Have some fun and play with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's going to demand a lot of double coverage. That means you'll benefit from the inside, working the linebackers and cover two and quarters. You can get that number two receiver out there. You can get some nickels. I mean, there's a lot of matchups that he can still win without a doubt, but not as a number one. Clearly as a 11 personnel third receiver, in my opinion.
No, I thought Dallas would be a great point for him. I also think the Kansas City Chiefs would be another good place for him. They're going to get Rashee Rice back. He'll be healthy. He can go up to Kansas City. You pair him with Patrick Mahomes. My question is he willing to swallow the ego a bit to say, hey, I'm not a number one receiver anymore. I'm not going to command $20, $30 million like I once did. Will he be willing to be that guy? Because another place that makes a lot of sense, look at what the Baltimore Ravens did with Zay Flowers.
Yeah, he didn't go into Houston as a number one now guy either. Now, Nico's number one. right? And Tank Dell was number 2. He came in as number 3, really, in my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong.
I think we look at that from the outside looking in, saying he was the clear-cut 3 in that room in terms of talent. But when he's in that room, he's the former alpha. So I actually think he probably gets a little bit more respect from the guys than even a Nico Collins, who's still ascending. Nico definitely is the best player, but in that locker room, he's still Stefon Diggs, and he still has that track record of 8-9 years of being that alpha. Cole, what'd you have to add?
I think you're right. I think from a peer's perspective, from a player's perspective, he has a ton of respect. He's done it for a long time. He works hard at his craft. He's quick. He's in and out of his cuts. Like, those are guys that, like, you give them a lot more flexibility. And I think he still will have a little bit of that. I like the Baltimore Ravens. If he doesn't stay at Houston, for a couple reasons, right? You pair him with Zay Flowers and Bateman. Like, there's a role there playing with Lamar Jackson. He also played at the University of Maryland. Like, if he wants to go back to kind of where it all started and have that sort of like connection to his school. And then when you talk about chasing rings, like we know the Baltimore Ravens are going to be good. You know, there's a lot of broken plays, scramble plays that he can capitalize on there, no doubt. I just think that might be a good fit.
AQ, you said you think he's back in Houston. Is there a team other than Houston that you would pick?
I think the other spot that I see, which actually I think would be a really good fit for him, is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they let Godwin walk, you got Mike Evans and Baker can work the middle of the field as good as any quarterback in the league right now, and they do so much of that quick slant, RPO type stuff. I think he would be great in that.
After T. Higgins, you have the next best receivers, and it's Stefon Diggs, it's Amari Cooper, and it's Chris Godwin, the guy that you just mentioned in Tampa Bay.
I think it's going to be hard for these guys to get multi-year contracts, really. I think they're going to be one-year deals. The problem with free agency coming before the draft is everybody thinks they can get receivers in the draft, and I don't think anybody's going to go out and spend a lot of money on these 3 receivers we're talking about on multi-year deals coming off injuries at 30 plus years old. It's just hard to imagine anybody doing that. I think it's more realistic for one-year deals, prove-it type deals, and then maybe get something else later if they perform well.
I think that's dead on. I mean, I think there's a lot of young guys, and you can steal guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round of the draft that you kind of circle, and your scouts have been following for a couple years, and you think you can get them. I mean, there's a lot there.
Go find the next Puka Nacua is what these guys are saying. Every dog has his day. Some of our veteran wide receivers. I mean, look, you might be signing a 1-year deal just trying to win a ring at this point.
It
right?
might be beneficial for these guys to wait till after the draft. Some teams might not get who they wanted in the draft, and now there's a need for them, and it might be more beneficial for them to wait. But you'll see. You never know what they're thinking, but I don't think anybody's going to be overly excited about as good as Godwin is and Diggs have been just right now at age 30, 31, coming off major injuries. I don't think anybody's going to be like, holy cow, we got ourselves a guy.
You got to feel bad for Chris Godwin. He was actually having one of the best statistical seasons of his career.
He's an incredible player. There's no doubt about it. But
he's the youngest of the bunch. I think he turns 29 this season. So I think maybe Godwin and Tampa make a ton of sense there.
Did he
right?
have knee issues before he got hurt again?
He's got bad knees.
He's had a major ACL. He's had some knee stuff going on most of his career and limits his practice ability. And then then you get the bad ankle injury this year. I mean, it's tough sledding.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one. You hate to see that, but I mean, look, after T. Higgins, you kind of start to go downhill a little bit. So you guys are right. It probably ends up being the draft. Speaking of the draft, we are going to be covering the draft, the combine, everything this offseason, all the free agents. We've given you our insight here on Clean Pocket. Let me know where you guys will rank them right now. We got Chris Godwin, we got Stefon Diggs, and we have Amari Cooper. Where do you rank those in the system? We'll see you guys in the comments. Jay's going to be on there commenting back. He's going to be up late at night just grading everybody's predictions out.
I type like this, by the way.
In football, every game means more during the playoffs, and you can start your own personal playoffs on Underdog, where you could cash in on touchdowns, interceptions, yards, or more. All you have to do is pick higher or lower, and you could take home up to 1,000 times your money if you get your picks right. It's that simple. Millions of fans have already won billions of dollars making picks. Sign up for Underdog today using promo code POCKET, capital P-O-C-K-E-T, and you'll get a free pick as a part of your first cash entry plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Again, that's promo code POCKET.